Why am I talking? Well, right now, because it's my turn to give a BBC, but we are approaching the end of our 3-month winter retreat, which is held in noble silence. And as I think many of you know, I haven't been very good at the silence part. So this was something I had noticed in prior years as well. And so at the beginning of this retreat, I set the goal to try to do better at keeping silence. And for the first half of the retreat, I actually kept track in a spreadsheet of whether or not I had needlessly broken the silence that day. And there was one day where I felt like I had really succeeded in keeping the silence. I stopped the spreadsheet at that point. So seeing that, just having the thought, I'd like to do better at this, wasn't enough. That really I needed to investigate further. I've been reflecting on why am I talking? Or why was I just talking? And I wanted to share a little bit of what I found. And especially because when I looked at kind of these 3 mental states that were coming up, I saw that these are things that are going to be really relevant, not just for keeping silence during the 3 months, but things to really make sure that my actions of body, speech, and mind are virtuous and disciplined throughout all the year. So first, when I see, okay, why was I talking? Habit. That nice excuse of habit comes up. So looking at that, what does that mean? So the habit that I talk to you through the rest of the year, and I like talking to you, so I keep talking to you. Okay, there's a lack of mindfulness there. A lack of mindfulness around, for instance, the fact that we're in silent retreat. Literally forgetting that we are in silence sometimes. And I saw this, for instance, we do have some situations where it makes sense to be talking, like in a meeting. And so in that meeting, I'm talking, I walk out, and I keep talking, forgetting that meeting was happening within the context of a silent retreat. So, okay, that's something to work on, maybe writing it on my hand, silence, next year. But it was also helpful to really think about this and to think about how much of my speech is on automatic and coming from habit throughout the whole year. We set that aspiration in the morning, for our speech to be useful, truthful, timely, and kind. And how often do I do that throughout the whole year? Are there times where I've completely lost my mindfulness of those aspirations, of those values and goals, and I'm just talking on automatic? In which case that might be idle speech, or I've really lost track of the virtuous speech I'm trying to use and the precepts I hold, and maybe I'm engaging in divisive speech, harsh speech, or even lying. So in this way, I see that this kind of excuse of habit really is covering up this lack of mindfulness, and that by trying to grow that mindfulness around my speech all year, that's going to help me keep silence and retreat, and also help me make sure that my speech is virtuous all year. So sometimes I do remember we're in silent retreat, and I still choose to break silence. And then I say, okay, why, if I know we're in silent retreat, why am I talking? And the thought is, well, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not disturbing others. And there's a tone of arrogance here, in the sense that I think I'm in control of the situation. I think I know how loud I am. I think I know where everyone is. I think I can control the situation enough to not have a negative impact on others. And one of the things that I have learned about in this retreat is that I'm louder than I think I am. So in fact, when I say, it's okay, I'm not disturbing others right now, sometimes I am. So this is, again, a mental state that's going to not just be there during retreat, but in fact is there when I look at many of my past negative actions that I regret. That in that situation, I thought, I have control right now. I understand what's happening. I can make sure that there's not going to be a negative consequence. And a concrete example that I think many of us share is that idea of taking some supplies at work. Pens, paper clips, they're small things. No one's really harmed, right? But that's still taking what has not been freely given. And even if I, do the calculation and say, okay, I've taken 5 cents of paper clips, and that's really not going to make a difference to the endowment, I still have the negative karma of taking what has not been freely given. So that thought of, I know everything that's going on, so even though I've been told this creates negative karma, it's non-virtuous, or maybe a precept, to think, well, it's okay, right? Our precepts, there's often specific contexts where it isn't a lapse, like if someone's sick, for instance. But if I start then using this mindset to say, well, no, I understand everything about why this precept was created, it's fine to break it in this case, that's not going to lead me to virtue. I don't actually know everything. Amazing. So again, this working on this mind that gives myself an excuse to break community guidelines, to break precepts, whatever it is, that's something that will benefit me overall to work on. But then the biggest one, the biggest reason why I see myself breaking silence, when, okay, I know, yes, I'm supposed to keep silence, but I really need to, because I have this need for connection with others. And we talk about this in nonviolent communication, that oftentimes we might say that, okay, when this happens, I feel sad because my need for connection is not met. So it's not the need for connection that's the problem. We know that we're interconnected with all sentient beings. That's a perspective we try to cultivate. And so I need to, I looked at this need. What is this need for connection? And it's a craving for pleasant feelings. That's all that is. It's this craving for that pleasant feeling I get when we're chatting, when you're laughing, when we're having that nice connection. And so that craving is leading me then to engage in speech when I should be keeping silence. So is this really a problem? There was this teaching I heard near the beginning of the retreat in the context of feelings and how, feelings lead to craving, and we learn about craving within the context of 12 links. So, okay, I think I want to work on craving. So seeing that mind, seeing that craving for pleasant feelings that isn't causing me to go into the kitchen and, take food out of the fridge when I'm not supposed to, but it's okay, breaking silence, that's craving worth working on. The other aspect of really looking at that, okay, where's that pleasant feeling coming from? What's going on there? One level deeper. What I see is that oftentimes this is really feeding the ego and centering the universe on myself in a few different ways. One is that sometimes, what are these conversations about? It might be looking for Dharma advice, and that might be useful. That might be something important to do then. Other times, it's me wanting to tell you about this dream I had last night. And you probably don't care. So that it's really that self-centered, let's talk about me and my feelings and my thoughts, and that's not taking me in a helpful direction. And it's interesting reflecting on, whether or not all speech is connecting. This becomes quite clear to me when in around December, when there are certain conversations that occur and my thought is, I can't wait till we enter silence. Because there's certain conversations that I find disconnecting. Maybe I don't find the topic interesting. Maybe there's conflict. Maybe you're just talking at me and I'm not getting a chance to talk myself. And so I realized, okay, yes, why don't I enjoy those conversations? Usually because I feel like the other person is being self-centered. So that's for me to reflect on then my own speech. I can also ask myself, well then, if I want connection so much in those conversations, is there a way for me to shift my mind a little bit to have a sense of connection rather than a sense of aversion? I don't want this. This doesn't meet my need. And so that's something, a goal, when the rest of you start talking, I'll work on that. And especially going back to that idea, the second one of okay, I know when it is and isn't disturbing others. there are times that I know that I am disturbing others, and I'm still so caught up in self-centeredness that I don't care. And the biggest example of this for me is when I pick up the cats. I want to connect with the cats. They're cuddly, they purr, they're sweet, and most of the time, most of them don't want to be picked up. But I pick them up anyways. And so that kind of shows me this sense of, well, I need to meet my need for connection. Well, okay, can I do that without disturbing others? Can I do that in a way that others are experiencing connection too? And that isn't always going to be talking, especially during winter retreat. So I've challenged myself to look for ways that I'm connecting with others or that people are connecting with each other that isn't talking. And I've seen that there's so many little, sweet moments of seeing, for instance, one person helping another without being asked, but simply because we know each other. We know how people could use help. We know how we can step in and work together and function as a community. And that's really beautiful. So I've been trying to look for that and really hold on to that as that way of meeting that need for connection without talking to you all. So these mental states, in this case, have been contributing to my chit-chat all throughout retreat. And I really hope to work on these mental states in the 9 months that we're not in silent retreat, since it will help overall keeping my speech virtuous and keeping all of my actions of body, speech, and mind disciplined. And hopefully I can do a little bit better next year at staying silent during winter retreat. Oh, I said next year.